Hi, I'm Bruce Asbestos. I'm an artist based in Nottingham. I work in fashion across digital media and various parts of Web3. I think I'm always looking towards new technology for kind of inspiration and fun. I always like that new tools of any sort, whether it's like physical tools or digital tools, mess things up. And there's usually a moment in which people are still getting used to what this thing is possible. And I like that, being in that moment, and kind of whether it's websites or whether it's AI or whether it's, a new sewing machine. I don't sort of mind what the new technology is, but being in there and being involved, I really enjoy.
So when did AI start to kind of come onto your creative radar?
I was trying to think back, and I guess it was probably, there was a kind of Google deep dreaming thing where it was starting to be like you could put an image in and it would spit something out. It was not meant to look real in any way, but I kind of like this idea that computers hallucinating, and perhaps there was a kind of trippy side to computers that was kind of interesting. And I guess slightly further back, I was thinking about those images of where they would get photos of thousands of people from a country and make a kind of like montage of that, and you've got a kind of ghostly outline. And so I was sort of starting to think about those things as AI. I guess we use AI all the time, whether it's Spotify playlists or whatever. I think it's, the sort of thing that's changed really is the interface between us and AI, like non-skilled person and AI. I think that's the thing that seems to have changed, rather than the technology's been there for quite a while.
What was it that made you want to start incorporating it into your practice? I mean, you've spoken about like your capacity to be excited by a new sewing machine and what that can do. But when was it that you thought, so Google Deep Dream or one of its successors, whether that's DALL-E or Midjourney, this is something that I can play with?
I think I play with lots of these things all the time, but it's only when I feel like I've got control of the kind of narrative of a piece of work, when that's when I kind of put it out. So there was did lots of stuff with kind of NFTs and that sort of thing. And I soon worked out that I sort of wasn't really in control of the narrative about, these works were going out in the world. And there was something too much that was about the money side of it, which I found a little bit distasteful. So I kind of pulled back from doing that. There, these NFTs still exist, but I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to wait maybe another year or two and just see how all the dust settles, and then make something that I feel really works in that space. Yeah.
The really early innovators in that space were all artists, but then it feels like their voices kind of was silenced or got crowded out by other, maybe sort of less creative creators, if I can put it like that. Maybe it won't be until the hype's gone out of it that it starts to become a little bit more creative again, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the kind of more famous NFTs are really like, they're kind of non-art in a way, which I find kind of exciting. That brings more people into art. So again, that's kind of like, I'm looking for those avenues in which you can take art into the world. So NFTs had that kind of excitement in which someone who wasn't from professional arts background could actually experience a piece of work in a new way. So I was kind of interested in how you work with that. But again, it's kind of, I think with sculpture, I know where I'm at. I know if I make this sculpture, it's doing something about like what I think it's doing. Whereas an NFT suddenly had this whole other life to it that I just didn't feel that comfortable with. And the other thing was that when you started to talk about work that was an NFT, you have an hour-long conversation about what an NFT is and what a wallet is. And then by the end of it, it's like 3 hours later, it's just like, I actually haven't talked about the work at all. And that's what I found difficult as well. It's like having to talk about what a painting is every time you show a painting. It's like, maybe some painters love talking about that, but you know what it's like? I didn't feel like the work, I felt like the work was there was a distance between the audience and the work, let's say. For instance, I did this Mario catwalk, and it was basically an AI generated catwalk that was themed around Mario. And it was like, if I'm going to use this stuff, then it has to look like my work. It has to have that feeling of my work, even if a computer's generated it, 90% of it. It's like, how And I think within that specific piece, there was maybe 25 looks. They were very photoreal and quite interesting, but it's also, they do feel like my work. It felt like it could be an actual catwalk that I'd made. So I felt kind of reassured by that. I think in other scenarios, it really doesn't, like the Google Dream, forgetting what it's called now.
Deep Dream, I think.
Deep Dreaming, it really felt like its own thing that was just like almost like an Instagram filter that you put on something.
Yeah.
So I just guess I'm just looking for those points at which it can still have the feeling of my work, or it kind of relates to, some signs or, sculptures that I've made. So I guess that's more, rather than the kind of technology working out how that works, more thinking about how does it relate to the rest of the stuff that I'm doing. When you first try it, it's like, really, right, okay, someone's really got, well, no, there's when you produce 400 images, 20 of them are exactly how you imagine, but you've got to be a kind of curator of images to kind of file through that. And there's so many things that come up that just aren't correct. I was using the Midjourney previous to that, the kind of Midjourney 3, I think it was. And it was just like they would generate an image and the knee would be back to front, or it'd generate something and it would be like a person, but, they were sort of into a wall or something. So then the next Midjourney, it started to have a sheen to it. I was like, I recognized that as an AI image because it had this weird sheen to it. And I was like, I can spot that. And I spotted that on Instagram without even knowing what it was. And then the next Midjourney got rid of the sheen. I'm like, okay, now I don't know. Now it just looks like a photo. I can't really tell. But yeah, I guess. Well, I was thinking about it in relation to video games. It's like video games started off not being photoreal at all, and over a period of 20 or 30 years became photoreal. And almost exactly at that point, they start to introduce glitches and start to include aberrations, like photography kind of aberrations. So you get to a point of photorealism, and then you move away. And I think painting did the same. You get to we can do this perfectly in some form, and then you kind of move away, and actually the sort of the voice of the technology sort of comes to the fore. So I think there's that possibility with AI, like perhaps we're too in it to know really what it looks like or what that kind of thing is. Of the AI of 2023 or 24 will have a feeling, and maybe the AI of 2033 will have a different feeling, and you'll have a retro AI thing of like, this is in the early 2020s style, you're like, and I'm looking forward to seeing what things we believe to be massively real now or whatever, it becomes a sort of style. If your job is to make stock photography, I think your days are numbered. I don't think there is a job for you in the future. There's and certain processes that I've used in terms of game design, making 3D assets quicker. I think that a lot of those workflows will be much, much quicker. Yeah, and I think that's where it's going. I think, even like creative work in a digital design agency will be more about theoretical underpinnings of stuff, whereas I think the lower grade moving around of things will mostly be kind of automated. But I was thinking about it like in all my artwork is collaborative. There's not one show that I do where I'm not in, I'm working with people who produce stuff, manufacturers, I'm working with curators, designers, shippers, I'm working with lighting specialists or makeup artists, or, I'm always working in that collaborative environment. So I don't necessarily feel like AI is this sort of weird outsider thing. It's just like, okay, this is going to help me do this thing. And the other day I made some using Midjourney to generate some kind of inflatables that I was thinking about, and it was great. I managed to produce something that was roughly in the area of what I wanted, and I needed it very quickly. So it kind of fulfilled something that I needed to do very, very quickly. So I was quite pleased with that. That probably would have taken me a couple of days, which I have done in the past. During lockdown, I made like 200 or 300 renders of artworks in galleries, and that took a lot of time. There was a lot of time to be used up. But I think now it's like, I'm a busy person. So it's kind of just in terms of kind of, what's the word, manufacturing term, you kind of like make adjustments and generations and what you don't want to produce as well from those kind of things.
Yeah. So Does that mean that how you think of your own authorship, your role as an author, has changed, particularly in relation to where you need to spend your efforts?
Yeah, I've been thinking of making a cowboy movie that's mainly in Unreal Engine, and I've been thinking about this for a while. But at the same time, the kind of AI thing has blown up, and it took me a while to kind of feel like if I produce this thing, will it just look like it's being produced by AI? Because it's going to have that weirdness. Things aren't going to they're going to look broken in some way. I think I'm still going to make this cowboy movie, but I was uncertain about what the value was because of a lot of things I would have spent many months doing. Potentially, I can shortcut these days. So what does it mean to the end result? How does that feel? Or is it maybe there's part of me that enjoys the process? Through that, you work out how to mess something up because I'm not a filmmaker and a director. I'm an artist doing something. And it's like sometimes you're looking for those things that break or, glitch or whatever it is. You're looking for those kind of bits of faulty technology in a way. So, yeah, I think it has changed my approach. But I guess even like a better camera can change your approach. It's like, the SD format is not going to work or the whatever it is, it's kind of, I think it's about also getting used to a look or feel we get used to things looking like a particular way very quickly.
We do. And this is something that we're, as you've already commented, only just learning in relation to AI. I loved what you said about the fact that we're going to look back on the AI of 2022 and think, well, we already do actually. We look back at it and go, wow, that is so last year. And then how's it going to be in 10 years' time? I think that, and it won't be an endless pursuit towards it getting more and more realistic because, well, certainly not when it's being used by a creator, it feels to me, because that is ultimately boring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't feel now like I'd make another AI catwalk. I feel like that was almost like there's a moment in time where that is possible, and also not everybody has access to it, or not everybody is interested, or not everybody, you can get apps on your phone, but it's not 99% of people are doing this stuff. And I think if you're into technology, you can often feel like, oh, that's really boring, and I sort of feel at the minute I wouldn't do like another AI catwalk in the same way, like maybe with the runway, I think it's called, where it's like text to video. Maybe there's something in there, but that looks really crunchy and quite obviously, computer produced. I guess within 2 years, it might have that kind of photoreal look. But yeah, I guess people will be going back to that bit in which it was faulty.
Where can we see what you're working on?
So some of it's secret, some of it's hidden. There's one project that I'd like to chat about, which is AI produced images of surrealist fashion looks that look maybe like something like Bauhaus. And this is when I first thought, okay, there's something really interested in that you can kind of specify the kind of look that you want. Maybe it's black and white and that sort of thing. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. What I'm going to do is then make a real catwalk out of these kind of AI produced images. So I think that kind of back and forth, there's potential in that, even though I just said I wouldn't make an AI catwalk. I wouldn't make an AI catwalk that's just kind of a set of images. I think I'll do something else. So over the next year, I'll be working with different makers to kind of produce these outfits, which are based all on AI looks. But you don't know the back or how it's built or what material. There's no information. So we have to kind of fill in a lot of technical stuff over the next 12 months or so.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting. I look forward to seeing that in due course. And for those viewers who are watching this video now, you must have a website somewhere that they can head over to have a look at what you've been working on. bruceasbestos.info. That's great. Bruce, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.